We talked about stilling the mind yesterday and the importance of focus in stilling the mind, where you place your attention. Now, when I observe people meditate, I can tell if they're efforting or not efforting. Why? You just look here. When you're sitting at attention, you can be at attention without efforting. And this needs to be experienced and learned. There's no way around it. You have to get on the cushion and experience it and learn to observe and notice how it's done. It's like, how do you learn how to ride a bike? You get on the bike and you ride a bike. There's no way around it, right? Can you learn how to ride a bike by watching somebody riding a bike? No. Can you learn how to ride a bike by reading a description of somebody riding a bike? No. You can only learn how to ride a bike by getting on the bike and doing this. You know, wiggling, trying to grab balance and ride a bike.
And falling off a few times.
Yes, and falling off quite a few times for me. Right? And if you're lucky, you learn early and you get some training wheels. If you're not lucky, you get dropped in it like me. No training wheels. But if you fall off more often, you still eventually learn, even though you scratch your knee a few times. Meditation is the same. You got the teacher, the counting, you got training wheels. Right? You get on that cushion and you learn to ride it. You observe and you notice the attention, how to shift your focus and attention, how it works. Investigate your own mind. So when we sit, it's very active. People have this notion that meditation relaxes you and you do nothing and you bliss out or you kind of space out or something. We do the opposite. We're aware of everything. Every little subtle things like that. Not so subtle.
Bless you.
That metallic smell of the barbecue or something over there yesterday. Everybody notices that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Little scratch at the window by the branches.
Mm-hmm.
The wind howling outside. People shifting in their cushion. Your own sensation. Every little thing. Instead of going into a thinking process and getting lost in that, we're shifting our attention away from it. We're investigating how attention moves, how attention behaves. Right? And when the mind stops wandering into thoughts, wandering into the haze, I call it. You know the haze. I think everybody here knows the haze. It's called mindlessness. That's when you count to 20. Right? And for most people who's meditating, you know, the new agey thing, mindfulness meditation, you know, sometimes they like the haze. Turn off your brain. Say the same thing that happens when you watch TV. You turn off your brain. Take attention away from your inner self. Turn off your inner brain and just let the TV suggest you. That's not what we're doing. We are turning on the light of awareness. and making it brighter. We're removing the clouds. Remember the Chinese character yesterday, the sun and the moon? Ming? Clarity? We're turning on the light of awareness in us. If the sun and the moon was covered by the clouds, it's no longer clear. That's what happens when the five aggregates rises. So then we're sitting to kind of learn to let the cloud pass by and not hold it, and not hold the cloud there. Let it come and let it go. And eventually, you let it go enough that the clarity shines through. And then the dust settles and the clouds kind of all dissipates. And you have the experience of pure awareness. And is stilling. Ting. Stilling. And when the stilling happens, what happens? Clarity. Yes. And in that clarity, what happens?
Wisdom arises.
Wisdom arises. Prajna. Intuitive wisdom arises. The wisdom of no thinking. And then we realize the wisdom is silent. It's very subtle. But when we don't listen to it, suffering happens. When we listen to it, we surrender to it and do according to it, magic happens. I call it everyday little magic. We were discussing last night here with the two members here staying with me, the experiencing of synchronicity, what Carl Jung was talking about. When you surrender to the present and listen to intuitive wisdom and go according to what it tells you, synchronicity happens. It just comes together and you go, wow, I didn't know that was possible. Things just came up. It just comes together. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just need to know that I go there. Why do you need to go there? I have no idea. But when I do that, magic happens. And things just work out by themselves. And in that stilling and surrendering to wisdom, there's an incredible amount of trust. At first you don't trust, but then you realize you do trial and error. Right? You trust a little bit, you go, hey wisdom, I'm going to do this. I'll try it a little bit. Right? And then you fall into it, and it's a little bit of emptiness, it's kind of like falling into nothing. Right? But then you realize, falling into nothing, there's infinite possibilities that can happen. Why? Because you're open to the mystery. The mystery of the unknown. And that's the beauty of it. Why do we chant the Heart Sutra? Why do I love the Heart Sutra so much? Why? Because Heart Sutra talks about what? Prajna, wisdom. All bodhisattva from the past and the present has take refuge and surrender and follow the prajna. To what? Cross the sea of suffering. And I can tell you, sometimes I follow that wisdom with fear in my eye. It's scary, right? Then that's where the faith of Zen comes in. The faith in your own intuitive wisdom. Not faith on something external. That's the faith in the 3 pillars of Zen. The faith to walk into the unknown, the faith to go into the emptiness. And you know what? Before you do it, there is fear there. And many times I run the other way. And every time I run the other way, I notice I suffer. And it comes to a point where I realize there's no option to turn around and run the other way anymore. Because I just lost all the tolerance for suffering. You know? So, prajna is the key to liberation. But you can't wake that up. You can't listen to it unless you still the mind. You can't hear it because there's no voice in it. It's the voice of silence. I know that's a contradiction, but that's how it works. And that's the true guide. So your teacher is just serving and functioning as the guide to help you wake up that. To help you trust that. And when that is alive and well enough and clear enough, you are your own authority. You listen to your intuitive wisdom. You don't need an external teacher anymore at that point. It's nice to have a friend around that you can discuss this stuff, because very few people can understand this stuff. Okay? So you need Dharma friends around. Because sometimes, you experience the mystery and you get so excited. It's more fun to have someone to share with. Somebody who understands, right? You call them up, you go, guess what happened with me today? This is really neat. Huh? I look at it as having a very restricted hobby. Right? That you find a friend to share it with. Come on, let's face it. Not too many kids on the schoolyard's gonna like me talking about Zen. I was a weird kid. Right? How do we develop wisdom? Still the mind. And in the Buddhist practice, how do you still the mind? You sit. So when somebody tells me, I can do Vipassana all day. No shit.
or I'm mindful all day.
I'm mindful all day. No shit. You can't. Why? Because you haven't even learned how to still the mind when you're sitting. Never mind. If you can't do it while you're sitting, forget it. Doing it while you're walking and talking and doing other stuff. Does that make sense? So if you can't develop concentration and focus and attention and still in the mind while you're sitting, you're deluding yourself that you can do it while you're walking and talking and working. So in Buddhism, the jhana is very important. What's jhana?
Concentration.
That's right. The word Zen itself is meditation. Ting. Stilling the mind. That's another word for jhana. We have different stages of jhana, different layers of concentration, of stilling. The first jhana, it's kind of interesting. I experienced that. Very funny. One time I went to a retreat. So I sat, and I was beyond counting. So I don't count anymore. I was able to have clarity when I'm just sitting. Just noticing the breath in and out, noticing my body with clarity, no haze. And I just relax. I look forward, and there's this, you close your eyes, and this blackness, you just relax, and I just let myself fall into it. My awareness fall into the ground that I'm sitting on. And let my body relax, and suddenly, my stomach starts stirring, bubbling up, this energy. All the goosebumps started happening on my shoulder. I felt all these goosebumps going on. All the hair stands up off the back of the end. My stomach just stirs. And this really bubbly, unsettling joy. And I call it unsettling because you can't really, you kind of relax into it. So it just blows. So in the middle of 100-something people in the meditation, we were all sitting there, I just burst out laughing. I went, I couldn't stop laughing. Right? And joy just blew all over. I felt it in every part of my being. It was a little bit unsettling, but it's unsettling joy. And that was the first jhana. This bubbling joy that just bubble up from your bottom of your body. So I go and talk to my teacher. He said, I just started laughing and all this stuff. It's really weird. And he says, did you have goosebumps? I said, yes. Hair stand on the back of your neck? Yes. All your pores open up? Yes. Welcome to the first jhana. Anyone experienced that yet? I mean, mine was very unsettling. I mean, I blew up laughing in the middle of a retreat, Probably annoyed a lot of people there. Yes?
My understanding of the first jhana is concentration of directed thought and evaluation. And then after that is an experience of rapture, and then from there, pity.
What do you think rapture is?
What I think.
Joy!
That's what I'm thinking here. It sounds like the second level of jhana. That's where I'm kind of getting a little bit.
Rapture, yes. The first jhana, you basically go into it, your body starts feeling it, and then your joy just bubbles up.
So is that the directed thought and evaluation then?
No.
Fall into the ground?
No, directed thought and evaluation is before that.
What do you mean by that?
It's when your mind stops wandering.
Okay, all right.
When you're counting, your mind stops wandering. You stop going into a haze. You actually is there. You see things clear. Right? And then the rapture is the joy. I mean, terminology. I mean, that's academic terminology. I like to say big laughs, belly laughs.
Keep it simple.
Right, keep it simple. Forget about the academic terminology.
But it's helpful to hear you kind of talk about it in a different way like that.
Of course, because as much as I like academic reading, I prefer to say it like everyone else would describe it, which is, I had a big belly laugh, right? Goosebumps all over my body. My God, rapture is such a...
It's a nebulous term. Yeah.
I know.
Very Christian term, too.
Yes. Guess who's translating those things? Right? That's why it's language. I'm fascinated with language, but at the same time, I find that there's limitations to them, depending on the person translating. So better to talk about with someone with a direct experience.
Even when you spoke yesterday about ignorance being a state of non-clarity, that's a very different way from what you'll find in most text literatures. They speak about it as not being aware of the formable truths, that sort of.
Zen simplifies things considerably.
It's very helpful to see this from your perspective.
Why? Because I experienced it. It's not a concept for me. Right? you see it in my Dharma talk, I use street terms.
You're also speaking from a place of knowledge and personal experience.
Right.
So you're able to simplify it and
Right. And I'm a Zen teacher. We simplify our experience so that people can easily see it. These terms like rapture, it's very, yeah. When you say belly laugh, everybody knows. Right? Goosebumps. Right? Hair stand on the back of the end. All my pores open up. Anyone at any level knows that. Okay?
yeah, a
Yes.
child knows that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I find I have goosebumps a lot lately.
Yes. On doing your meditation, right?
Not even, or just, especially when I'm working with students.
Yes,
young
good,
people, because
good.
they say wonderful things. And
Yes.
I go, that's,
Yes, yes,
you know,
yes.
it's almost daily.
Right. And that I'm not saying that experience have to be on the cushion. It's usually off the cushion afterwards. Hmm? So you get into the first jhana. It's it's nice. But again, after a while you realize even the joy, the happiness is unsatisfactory because why?
It's empty.
No, it's impermanent. So when you have the joy, it's great. You enjoy it, and then you look forward for it some more. Welcome to disappointment.
Is it also something that once you recognize that that's what's happening, it's gone in can be gone in a flash type thing, or is that different?
You can stay with it. You can actually
You can
sustain
stay with
that.
it? Okay.
Yeah. And so a lot of people do sustain that.
It's still a temporary.
It's still
state.
impermanent.
It's still impermanent and temporary, even when you try to sustain it. All right? So after a while, you continue the observation. It's a really nice thing. Enjoy when it's there. Don't get attached to it. Why? Because it's impermanent. And also, it's very unsettling. Right? You realize after a while, even happiness itself is a form of suffering. I know it sounds strange, but if you tell that to people, they're like, they look at you weirdly. Because every positive has a negative. So the beautiful thing about waking up is you got all these rapture, these joy, these bubbly belly laughs. One day I was driving with a friend, back from work. Suddenly I looked at the clouds and I started laughing. It was so joyful just to look at the clouds. And he said, what did you take? I didn't take anything. It's the first jhana. See, that's why I said drugs doesn't appeal to me. Meditation, you experience this in a natural high. But you see the dissatisfaction of the bubbly joy after a while. And you realize, I gotta let that go. When you let that go, it starts to settle a little bit. Then you notice that there's this peacefulness. And you go into the second jhana. It's calming. This peacefulness is still a little bit coarse. If I have to describe it, you can still feel the form in the peacefulness. And so you still feel the separation. But it's nicer. It's like you going to Cuba and laying on the beach and go, right? The wind's in my hair. A lot of people experience this and they don't know it. I experienced it as a kid. Lay on the hammock, and I just sleep in the afternoon having a siesta, hear the wind going in the trees, and it's like, it's heaven, right? That's the second jhana. that peacefulness. But you still feel form. You feel your body, you feel the tree, you feel everything, you feel the form. And there's a joy in having that form. Just peace with it. But there's still, again, the separation. Now, there's you and me in that peacefulness. There's two. Not one nothingness, two nothingness.
Try to explain that one to
I
someone
know.
not Zen.
By the time you get into the second jhana, the coarseness has been more subdued. Yeah. You notice that their body is more relaxed. You've let go of most of the stirring of emotions. And the second jhana, you still have that emotional connection, all that emotional stirring. A little bit of joy left. By the third jhana, that kind of bubbly joy is all gone. There is this just focus, attention here. And whatever you focus on, it starts to dissolve into your awareness. And that's what I'm talking about flow yesterday. So people can experience this outside of meditation, doing what they love, whether it's woodworking or gardening. The problem is when they do something else. They got attitudes about it, right? So artists experience this all the time. Time kind of have no essence. They're always focused on what they're doing. Somebody can call them from distance away and they won't hear it. Hey, come in for dinner. Food is cooked. My mom used to do that with me, and I'd be like, literally, I was sitting there watching the rain, and I was enjoying. As a kid, I didn't know I was in the third jhana. There's this calmness. My mom would call me 3-4 times. Hey, come in for dinner. Hey, come in for dinner. I'm like, and she comes out, she sees me sitting at the window, looking out. She's like, what are you doing? Didn't you hear me call you? So the focus and attention is still limited. But in that limit, focus, and attention, there's joy arising. And then there's peace. And there's this calmness in that limited focus attention with what you're doing. So I focus attention on you during the Dokusen. It's just with you. I can't hear anything else. So if downstairs they hit the bell, I can't hear that. But that's the third jhana. It's still peaceful. It's limited, it's still peaceful. By the fourth jhana, things have really calmed down considerably. Your body relaxes. You're able to go into this space where no thoughts reside. You sit with your body totally relaxed with no thought. Space of no thought starts to open up. But the sensation, the feeling, the physical feeling, the sound, it's still very vivid. It's still very form.
A little bit at a distance from that.
Yeah, a little bit at distance, but it's still got that form feeling, the duality to it. Now when you get into the fifth jhana, I call it the immaterial jhanas. The formless jhana, things get a little bit interesting. What's the first? The fifth jhana is what? The base of
Base of emptiness.
emptiness. Space, basically. And how you get into that is very easy. Once you develop the calmness and concentration in a limited space, now close your eyes. You notice your body. Close your eyes. You notice sitting here. You notice your body. The sensation in your body. Now shift your attention to the room, the space in this room. Notice the space in this room. Now shift your attention to the sound of the bird outside and the cars and the moving sound in the distance and the cars moving in the distance and the cars down the street. And you can still hear the bird, but you're expanding your attention to hear the car down further out the street in all four directions. What's going on the left, what's going on the right. Just totally relax and just notice all of the cars all around you, all directions. The bird, the car, the street. Now expand your awareness, your attention to notice this city. And you've probably noticed there's a spaciousness in that, and you drop into it. You expand further outside the city to the country. To the planet. And beyond the clouds, you look up to stars with the vastness of the sky. It is as if you're standing at the cliff of the Grand Canyon and looking down. Totally relaxed and taking it all in. Open your eyes. Anything interesting?
Lose your sense of self.
Yes. That's the first thing that goes.
Awareness of the room, evens.
Yes. That's the first thing you notice. All the sensation that was really clear and apparent in your body is gone. Surprise, surprise, that's how you deal with pain. Physical pain. You shift your attention outward, expand it. The focus is no longer there, so you can feel the pain kind of like tune down. You notice that, right?
Or it's the same if you're busy and active with something that means otherwise engaging your mind.
Right, but this is a lot nicer.
Yes.
Yes.
Is Kensho a little bit like a glimpse of fire?
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's pretty much it. Yeah,
I didn't
that's
catch
it.
the question.
Kensho is a little bit of like a glimpse of number 5.
Okay.
It's a little bit further than number 5. That's why I like Kensho.
And as you progress, like, you're just there more often.
Yes, you learn to come back to that.
More of a
It's like
everydayness, like,
it's like once you know the path, you travel it once, you kind of can figure your way back, right? I remember when I was a kid, I took the way to school the first time. Somebody had to walk me. And then the second time I was kind of nervous. Maybe somebody had to walk me again. Right? But the third time I kind of familiarized. I was nervous, but I was able to walk again to the same path and get to school. And the more I walked it, the more familiar it got, and it's easier for me to get there. And after a while, it's like effortless. I just walk and I got to school. I'm not even thinking about it.
Is it kind of like our practice provides the breadcrumbs to the path?
Yes!
So that,
Well, it's not the breadcrumb, it's
No,
the road, but
yeah,
Yes.
but the more we practice and develop our practice skills, those are the little breadcrumbs that help us find our way.
yes! And your teacher is the guide, is the person who's holding your hand and walking down that road, to school. Okay. So, 5th jhanas, you see that? I mean, if you haven't developed a big focus and concentration daily, what happened? The exercise we just did, probably not gonna do much for you. You liked it? Well, you've been practicing regularly, like diligently. That's why. Makes a big difference. Because then you become really aware of your shifting attention and focus and awareness. You're able to observe the shifting attention, focus, and awareness. And the subtleties when it shifts. There's no substitute to getting on that cushion every day more than 18 minutes. Okay? So that's the exercise to expand your awareness, get into the 5th jhana. And what's the next jhana? The 6th jhana.
Nothingness.
Nothingness.
Joseph knows the one.
Oh, Joseph remembers them all. How do you get into the nothingness? Remember I told you you're standing at the Grand Canyon? You ever had that feeling? You're standing at the edge of the building, right? You look down, you go, right? That's the 5th jhana. When you're doing it successfully in the 5th jhana, you should get more rapture in your body, by the way. Why? What's that feeling like when you're standing at the Grand Canyon or the edge of the building looking down? Weak knee moment. Right? Right? Weak knee moment. Right? Your spine start going. I don't like academic terms. I like to describe it in real terms. That's exactly how it feels, right? You got a weak knee moment, and your spine's all tingly in the back. More goosebumps. Ooh. Right? Nothing's happening. You're sitting there on your cushion, and it feels like you're falling over. Isn't that great? Wow. The mind is capable of amazing feats. You don't have to throw yourself into danger, do base jumping in order to experience these things, right? In the safety of your own cushion. Right?
So 5 was emptiness?
5 was space.
5 is space, and 6 is nothingness.
Nothingness.
It's an interesting distinction.
So, do people find themselves kind of touching nothingness and then fear shedding it?
Yes, that's it. That's why I said number 5 is you're starting to touch it. Right? And this is interesting. I come across long-term meditators sometimes, and then they're like, yeah, I meditated for a while. And I said, yeah, okay, an hour a day? Yes, I've been doing that for a number of years. Okay, so they develop their concentration. I start walking them through the 5th jhana. They're like, wow, I didn't know this is possible. Next thing you know, bam, fear starts hitting. The friendly fear comes back, right? Why? Because you're standing at the edge of the precipice. You're literally, consciously standing at the edge of consciousness, of precipice.
In 5.
In 5. In 6, you're jumping in. Okay.
So what if you get stuck on 5?
Then you have to work on the fear then.
So do you just practice?
You keep practicing, you investigate the fears, you look at the labels that you put into fears, and then ultimately you gotta jump in. How do you jump into the pool? You jump into the pool. Right? There's no other way. You can work yourself up however you want mentally, but ultimately you gotta take that plunge. So into number 6, I have this comparison, like, who here watched Indiana Jones before? I love Indiana Jones, right? So if I could compare it to Indiana Jones in, was it the Cup of Christ? Or was he was looking for the Ark?
Ark.
Yeah, the Ark. Where he saw this cliff, right? And he had to have faith and step onto it, into nothing.
And it appeared.
And it appeared there was a bridge that had no form.
It's in Star Wars too.
Right. So he had to have an act of faith, because he saw the picture of somebody holding the cup and stepping into thin air. So it was an act of faith for him to step into thin air. That's the sixth jhana. There's nothing that will sustain you then unless it's faith. And that fear, the friendly neighborhood fear is going to come visit you. Okay? And when you step into that precipice, guess what happens? Oh, your friendly Kundalini is coming. Ever heard of Kundalini? Yeah. I didn't know that until my teacher told me. It was like, Kundalini? I was like, oh, wow, really? I looked it up.
I don't know that term.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's this innate energy that is in you. It is awareness. It is you. And it stirs on the back of your spine. You can feel it shivering and running. And that's what the fear is. It's basically that waking up. Right? You can feel, you know how people say, you know, when they see ghosts or things like that, and they feel this chill in the back of their spine? Right? It's actually not the ghost. It's them expanding their awareness. But their mind labels it. Their mind labels it as, oh, that's a ghost. But it's actually their expanding awareness. Remember I used to do the cemetery walk at night here in Regina with my dogs all the time? I walk in the darkness with no light, no flashlight. Sometimes there's no moonlight. Why? Why do I do kinning? Walking meditation in a cemetery at midnight?
Participating with fear?
Expand your awareness.
That's it. I'm investigating fear. I'm also quite aware that fear is the expansion of awareness, but the mind puts a label on it. So when you walk in the dark, right, your eyes can't see in front of you too far. Sometimes I can only see a meter in front of me, right? Your ears can hear stuff, but then your mind's trying to sort out, what is that? What is that? Is that an animal? Is that a ghost? Is that right? Is that the spirit waking up in the middle of the cemetery?
Yeah, the axe murderers.
Yeah, the axe murderer. So your mind goes crazy because it can't see very far. There's unknown. And also, because you can't see very far, all your senses wake up. Your hearing comes alive. All your pores comes alive, right? The pores in your body comes alive. You become hyper aware of all the movements in the woods. And then your mind goes crazy. There's a shadow moving over there. It's always at the corner. It's never in front of you. And you know what I do? If my mind does that, it goes, oh, there's a shadow over there. I would turn over it, look at it, walk over there and investigate it. And every time I investigate it, it's some leaf that got, light shining on it and things like that. But it's your mind trying to label it. Because, see, your mind hates unknown. It wants things to be known. Right? So walking in to the sixth jhana is about walking into fear. Fear is the contraction. And the more you hold fear, the more you run away from fear, the more you contract your energy. It's almost like a grabbing in your gut. When you walk into the base of emptiness, you walk into space, you literally, what happens when you walk into space? You feel a sense of falling. Who here has that experience before you sleep and you feel like, you have this sense of falling? It's like, you're walking on the street and you have this pothole and you didn't pay attention to? You have that experience?
And you jerk.
You jerk. Well, the sixth jhana is very similar. Except you don't just jerk. You fall into it. right? Guess what happens to your body? Well, when I was meditating before, I consistently going to the fifth jhanas, it shakes. My spine started having chills running up and down, and energy is just.
You can feel it.
You can feel it. You can feel the vibration.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, they don't talk about this.
Chicken leg.
They don't talk about this stuff. Right? Nobody talks about this stuff because it seems too crazy. It's weird. Suddenly you're sitting and you're not exactly an image of a Zen master. Right? So I called my teacher, I was like, am I possessed? The teacher's like, are you? So, no, I'm not. I know what's going on. I notice it, then you're not. Right? I'm observing it. Yes? Then you're not. Okay, fine. Keep going. Just notice what happens. So what happens is, when I let myself fall into that, it's like jumping out of the plane. Huh? It's like walking into that pothole that doesn't have a bottom. That feeling is like that. But it's not just a jerk. Because there's no bottom in that pothole. Okay? When you drop into it, your body does those funny things. It shakes. Chicken leg. Yeah? Sometimes your hand, your arm moves by itself. The energy just wants to get out. And it's weird because I watch my body move. It's like at one time it's like, and it'll hold this pose like, oh, what the hell? You know what? I'm not going to interfere with it because that's the Zen practice. Yeah? You are watching it. You are observing. You are studying it. You're not interfering with the process. So I just let it. And what I've noticed that all these things start to come together, and then my body starts to relax in different ways. I don't really study this chakra system because you know what? It's just more concepts. So Zen teacher says, yeah, chakra exists, and that's it. We're not going to go into all the meaning of what it means and whatever, you know. So my teacher says, yes, chakra exists, and he left it at that.
What's that word?
Chakra.
Oh.
He says, chakra exists, yeah, and he left it at that. Like, this kundalini? Yes, it exists, and he left it at that. It's like, don't go on to it. Just ignore it. Just let it happen. Because your mind doesn't know anything. just let it work itself. And so for years, I just kind of just sat there and watched. As my body twists and contorts and shake and all that stuff. Well, I go into the 6 jhanas. And what I've noticed every time is that it relaxes further. It comes to a relaxation point where I didn't know that type of relaxation is even possible. You see? So right along the spine is all the energy, it's all the nerve center, all the tightness that you're holding on, all the trauma you're holding on, it's all in your body right along the spine. All the electrical signals. You know? So what this does is it's letting go. So you get these psychic openings, weird stuff. I'm not going to get into it. We don't have enough time. But again, the function of a Zen teacher is to not, you're not crazy. Right? So you have these weird experiences, you call up your Zen teacher and you go, what the hell just happened? And he says, it's okay. It's okay. It's normal. That's okay. Don't worry about it. You know, the guy spent 10 years in solitary retreat. He came out. He's pretty normal. He didn't look crazy to me. So I thought, maybe he's got somewhere. He's onto something. So I'm gonna trust him. Thank God I did. Because many people get very, very ungrounded in this stage. And they get hospitalized. They think they're psychotic. They think they're, alone. They think they're psychotic. They think they have a mental illness. They think they are possessed. Right? Many Christian traditions thought that they're possessed by the devil and do exorcism on these people, right? And, the shamanic tradition would understand this better. Okay? The Zen tradition's like, whatever, just let it happen. We're not going to put a label on it. No meaning whatsoever. Just observe and let it happen. And I think that's the best way to approach it. So over the years, all these manifestations kind of died down. And you get onto the seventh jhana. What's the seventh jhana?
Perception, neither perception nor non-perception.
Yes. So you get to a point where, remember I said when you close your eyes, you kind of see the outer lining of your body? Right? Well, in the fifth jhana, you start to see that disappearing, right? In the sixth jhana, wow, that is really disappearing. You close your eyes, there's nothing there. In the seventh jhana, the subtle volition we talked about yesterday starts going. So the gatekeeper is losing its grip big time. So that energy that arises is going to do some weird stuff. I started having pain in the back of my eye, in my brain somewhere. Sometimes I hear this crackling noise in my brain. I don't know, maybe rewiring. It's rewiring. And sometimes you hear a loud bang. You hear loud bang all the time. Firecrackers. And it's okay. Your brain is rewiring. It does weird stuff when it does. Yeah. Because, scientists, they take the brain, right? And they have an operation and they poke here and then the person smells something, right? That's not even in the room. And they poke here and the person sends something that's not even there. Well, you know what? When you are rewiring your brain, the same things happen. Because you're expanding your consciousness. You're taking your consciousness where it was never done before. You're learning a new skill. You're establishing new connections in your brain. So sometimes it's going to do funny things because it'll kind of make new connections that's kind of related to other stuff. So it will affect some stuff, like memory. I used to have a really good memory growing up. And in my early 30s, I was absent-minded. Suddenly got really absent-minded. And Shunzun Suzuki was famous for this. He forgot everything. if you read his biography. So sometimes your memory goes a little bit wonky for a little bit of time.
There's a Zen teacher, and she's also a Catholic nun.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about she would hear music. She's also, that was her career, was a musician.
Yeah.
And she would hear music, and she was finally like, can somebody turn off that music? And nobody else could hear it.
Right. Yeah, because, she has habituated, she has trained her mind with the music. So then when her mind rewires, it touches the stuff that she's most dominant in. And so the music comes on. You started saying you were hearing music in the back of your brain, right? So in the seventh jhana, something interesting happens. You feel a sense of lightness. It's as if your body doesn't have any weight anymore. I remember walking up and down the stairs, and it felt like, oh wow, I'm weightless. And when I call my teacher, I go, "There's a really weird thing happened when I walk up the stairs." And he said, "You're weightless, right?" I'm like, "How do you know?" He laughs. He goes, "Yeah, I've been there before. It's okay." So your body just kind of felt less of a substance, because the perception of self is starting to dissolve. Okay? Because self is a perception. It comes from volition, which becomes perception, which is perception. Okay? And when you relax enough, the energy doesn't rise enough to become volition. And when you get into the 8th jhana, what's the 8th jhana? Neither perception.
As I understand, the 7th one is neither perception nor non-perception. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
The 8th one, I'm not sure if I can remember the label to it, but the ending of affluence.
Yeah. The 8th and the 9th, some people call it 9th jhana. It's what you call nirodha, nirvana.
That's the 8th?
Yeah, the 9th. I think we got a little bit mixed up. Anyway, the 8th. Anyway, these are all, how do I say it, conceptual stages. They're signposts. There's no definite boxes that actually, okay, at this point this happened, at this point this happened. These are all conceptual signposts.
They also flow into each other.
They also,
gonna ask that.
yeah,
There's
they
a flow
flow
to
and they
this.
mesh into each other, right? So this is all stuff we made up to kind of make sense of things. But the truth is they kind of mesh, right? They're not cut and dry.
Well, also the Theravada people, I think they divide them up even more stages as well. So it's
Well,
great.
in Zen, we kind of like
Yeah.
not try to label stuff and mind stuff and just let things happen. And what I've noticed is not cut and dry. As the rest of many things in life. There's no boxes but the one we put ourselves into, right? It's all in our head. There's no boundaries except the one we set down in our heads. So, all these experiences, nirodha is funny. I experienced this while I was in sitting meditation. And so it was interesting. Suddenly my breath stops. And I thought, okay, my breath stopped, but it felt totally comfortable. That it was not breathing. Whoa, it's weird now. Am I dying? I mean, you gotta ask that question, right? Your mind goes. I mean, I didn't ask it out loud, but there's the sense there. And I watched it and I observed it, and it was totally comfortable. And the body just kind of relaxed. And then there was this deepening of incredible peace. I don't know how to describe it. Then the breath kicks in again. Like, oh, okay. I'm not dying. But it slows down considerably, almost like 1 breath per minute or 2 breaths per minute or something like that. And heartbeat slows down. Like everything slows down. It's like right at the edge of sleeping. But you're still very aware, but your body is so relaxed. You know, just push it over a little bit, you're asleep. But you're not asleep. You're awake. You're quite aware. I called my teacher and I asked him, and he says, "Oh, wow, that's a very good thing. Don't worry about it. Keep going. And then later I experienced that outside of meditation. Well, I was walking around, waiting for a coffee, a second cup on my line. I thought, whoa, this is not possible outside. I couldn't function if everything slows down like this. Surprisingly, I was walking, talking, going to my lecture, writing, even taking notes. So it's a deeper no self. It's even deeper sense of no self, a very recharging sense of no self. We could say that. So even at the 8th jhana already, I mean, starting from the 7th onwards, yourself already starts to disappear, the perception of who you are. And it's very hard to describe because you're walking, talking, doing stuff, and it's like nothing's happening. Everything's empty. You are emptiness. I am emptiness. Everything is empty. There doesn't feel like there's a substance. There's a coarseness to it. I'm walking, talking in peace and emptiness. I didn't know that was possible before. That you can walk and talk and think and do stuff completely in emptiness. The oneness experience most people talk about is great. It's got a lot of emotions. You can feel the love, feel the joy, feel the oneness, the love of the universe. People like to elaborate on that stuff. Except that's not it. Move on. You have to fall into the emptiness, which is from the 7th jhanas onward. Now, all of these are experiences. They're signposts. I'm telling you so you can recognize it when you experience it. I'm not telling you this for something to look forward to. Okay? If you make this a concept and look forward to, it's almost a guarantee you will never experience it. So hear it and forget it. Okay? I tell you to listen to what I say now. Tomorrow you go home. This never happened. This lesson never happened. Forget it. Why? Because that's the only way for you to move forward to experience these things. When you experience it, you can pull those things out and go, ha, okay, there it is. And then you put it back in your drawer. You forget it. And you move forward. That's why a lot of teachers are very hesitant to teach about this, especially in Zen. You put any concept on it, people grasp it. They're like, I'm looking forward to that. Guess what happens when you do that? Desire, volition. And the whole works. You're actually...
Going backwards.
Yeah?
You're going backwards.
You went backwards, that's right. You know, I was a very curious person. I lived in my head and very conceptual. I learned all this stuff. My teacher threw all these books at me. And then in my early 20s, I realized I have to forget all of it. So I stopped reading and started practicing, right? And when I was going through all of these experiences, my teacher reminded me as I was going through them. But I just pulled the books enough to recognize where I was. Then I put it back. I leave my next journey as unknown. So the danger of teaching about these experiences is that you attach to it and you look forward to it. But if I don't tell you about it, well, guess what happened? Crystal, she goes into it, and it's very unsettling. She didn't know how to deal with it. And it's a very ungrounding experience for her. It could have been a liberating experience for you those years, if you knew these things, right? And you thought you were going crazy. You didn't want to share it with me because... God, my Zen teacher is so sane, mental, sane. How can I? These experiences I'm having, it's kind of insane, right? So you think that, it's just happening to me, and like everything else in life, when it's just happening to me, I feel specially crazy and special in my suffering, and then you realize, I'm sorry, it's universal. You're not that special. Right?
You're just becoming more ordinary.
You're just becoming more ordinary because these experiences have been practiced, have been integrated, have been passed on through this road for generations. From teacher to student. In a very intimate relationship. Why don't they say it openly in a Zen do like this? Because they're afraid. And you can grasp your mind onto it and go with it and never experience it. So I'm taking a risk right now to talk to you about this. Because usually I talk with Millie on one-on-one. Right? I did talk to you, Crystal, about it. Some of the seniors. Not in this extent. This is the spooky stuff. Okay? How do you have the experiences? And how do you maintain it? First of all, you keep your precepts. Precepts is the foundation of opening these things up. You break your precepts, close. Your awareness, your expansion shuts down right away. You experience that, eh? So then, in order to open yourself up again, what do you have to do? Repent. Confess. Repent. I'm so sorry. Please, I need to get my precept back. Right? Let it go. What else?
Maintain the practice.
Sit every day. Sit. That is the energy that drives. That's your car. Generosity is the gas. I practiced generosity all my life. That's why I made progress in my meditation. Generosity is the gas that drives your meditation car. Why? Because you know what? Meditators can be very fixated on themselves. Literally. You're just sitting there going into your own brain, right? You're really fixated on yourself. There is nothing more self-focused than meditation. So in the first 4 jhanas, it's very self-focused. You hit the immaterial jhanas. You've got to expand your awareness. So you have to be generous. You have to let that energy expand and go out. And there's only one way to do it. Generosity.
So that happens anyway, because as your self starts to dissolve, you start feeling the people in front of you.
What?
As your self dissolves, that boundary starts to go. You start seeing
Yes.
people differently.
Yes, you actually see people differently because your labels are going. So your filters are going. Your filters about yourself and your filters about others. So the 6 parameters is very vital in the meditation practice. You think you just have to get on your cushion alone and that's it? Yeah, not gonna happen, sorry. You have to keep the precepts, you have to practice regular repentance. I did something wrong, I feel guilty. You better let that go by repenting. By confessing to your teacher. Okay? All of that holding on is going to stop you from doing this. Why? Because instead of emptying yourself out, you're like putting more stuff into the basket. Right? All that judgment, all that emotion. You need to empty yourself out. And that's why we have the saying of Karman ceremony. To help empty yourselves out. That's why we have the Dharma practice. To practice expanding, giving. Every time you give, you feel good, eh? Do you notice that? If you give with an expectation, it doesn't feel good. But if you give with no expectation, it feels really good. The act itself is the reward. The act of giving itself is the reward. So, you need to remind yourself often. Come to the city, listen to the Dharma again and again. Sometimes I even want to listen to the Dharma because I need to remind myself. form the ship. Remember I said the 6 paramitas is all those logs that you put together as a raft, take you over the sea of suffering. All of this works together. The connection in the community to each other. The generosity, the precepts, the daily meditation, the confession, permission to be human. The ability to say anything to your teacher and go, oh, you mean I'm not crazy? Let me tell you, it's really important. Because when you go out there, people don't understand, they'll label you. Guess what happened, right? They labeled you.
Put me in the hospital.
Exactly. Pumped you with a bunch of drugs, and there you go. There goes your liberating experience. It could have been a very liberating experience. It was liberating,
Yes.
but it could have been further. Right? See?
I think that relationship with the teacher, I don't think you talk about it, but people don't quite understand that
Mm-hmm.
intimate relationship.
That's what I was talking about last night, Carrie. I don't think it's kind of coming across.
It's not coming across. People
No.
don't understand why.
Keep
That is
saying it.
so emphasizing
Keep
on it.
saying it.
It's not guru worship like, Tibetan Buddhism. Because your teacher is not special. They're not perfect. I don't think any Zen teacher is going to say, I'm the perfect teacher. No, they never say that. And when you say that, they're going to say, what? No.
Whack.
Whack. Don't even go there. Don't worship me. It's not guru worship. It's very different. I'm a human being. I know more skill than you in this part. I don't know skill more than you in the other parts, so don't ask me for any other stuff like, career counseling. All I'm going to say is go sit on it and get some clarity, and you make your own decision. Right?
Go sit on it.
It's true.
Love that.
Go sit on it, get some clarity, and you make your own decision. I don't know anything about that.
Go sit on it and come tell me what the answer is.
Yes, exactly. Right? So, but I do have a lot of skills in meditation. I have a lot of skills in getting peace. In liberation. I spent 28 years doing that. I spent 26 years understudying with my teacher until he's telling me to get lost, and that's when I say no. In my earlier years, I want him to say, you're graduated, go. I really wanted that validation in the earlier years of my practice. And that's when my ego was jumping up and down and said, I want that graduation, yes. But that's when he's not giving it to me. Because that's when I'm not mature. Bad teacher. He keeps saying, keep going, you're not there yet. Imagine, you look for that validation, your ego looking for that validation for so long. And he's refusing it. You're not there yet, keep going. And then I start doubting myself. I don't know anything. Right? And then when I start doubting myself, I don't know anything. I'm starting to realize I really don't know anything. That's when he tells, yeah, you know stuff, teach. 26 years later, you know how he says, why are you going to school? I said, I don't know. You try to become a psychologist? Have no idea. I'm just doing this right now. He says, well, congratulations. What? You're done. What? No, I'm not done. I don't know anything. I realize I don't know absolutely anything. And he's like, yes. Can I come back? Yes. Because you're fun. You become the dumbest person in the world. Yeah. But at the same time, you have become the person who's able to embrace the mystery at every moment. So embrace the mystery.
Picture 10.
Hmm?
Picture 10.
Yeah.
Go back to the marketplace.
Go back to the marketplace with open arms. Try doing this and be sad. Try doing this and be defensive. That guy's even wilder. He's like, open chest. Try doing this. And you feel vulnerable. Really vulnerable to life. But you've got better skills. It's called the ability to maintain peace after the initial stimulus hits. So you're still human. You still feel the stimulus. You just don't carry it. And if you don't feel the stimulus, you're a psychopath. We got something to worry about there. Right? So no, I'm not going to climb Mount Everest.
Is it possible to think of that stimulus as an expression of attachment, of picking up momentarily and then
And no, it's not attachment. You got a body. You got to feel. You got a body. You got to respond. Well, you're trying to be less human, or you're numbing yourself out. That's psychopathy. Right? You're numbing out your senses. You're numbing out your emotions, your feelings. It's called psychopathy. You're blocking the experience of being alive in life. Whereas this is the complete opposite. You're completely alive. The difference is you're not suffering from that aliveness. Right? You're experiencing life fully, and you're not holding on to anything. Because truly, life is from one moment to the next, to the next. There's a different experience all the time. When you're holding on to stuff, that's memory. That's your body holding the memory. Your body is not letting you experience the next moment as a new one. This is different. Every moment is a new one. That's why the Buddha says, I'm awake. Like the Bagger commercial, I'm alive and awake. I don't know that they just came all the time. It's just funny. I'm back with life. Right? When I'm a kid, I was like this to life, and then life smacks me and I'm closing up. Life smacks me again, I'm closing up. And I've closed up to the point where I feel numb. I've held the suffering in. And now I'm letting it all go. I'm back. That's why I like Jesus. He says, you got to be like a child to enter the gate of heaven. What's children like? They're completely open, vulnerable. And that's why we love them. They've got absolutely no value whatsoever. They take up stuff. They take up your time. They take up your energy. They've got no value whatsoever. Huh? Some of them aren't even cute. It's true, right? Still, somebody loves them, right? I looked up one time. This woman owns the world's ugliest dog, and my God, that dog was ugly. She loved it. It was still her baby. Everything that is alive has value because it's alive. We do not need to be productive to have value. You do not need to earn your robes. In Zen, you make a commitment, that's it, you get your robe. You put it on and you honor that commitment regularly to sit. You don't need to earn it. It is your destiny. It is in you. You don't need to earn to be Buddha. The Buddha is in you. You just have to open it and reveal it. Does that make sense? Very different way of approaching things, right? I'm a little bit of a rebel too.
No.
Okay, we're going to take 5 minutes break. We're going to come back and do the Sangha Karman ceremony.
Everybody's doing it.
No, whoever hasn't taken the 3 gems and the precepts has to leave. Have you taken the 3 gems and precepts? I'm sorry, the Sangha Karma ceremony only is offered to people who has made a commitment to take the 3 gems and the precepts and practice it in their life. So it's a little bit of an intimate kind of thing.
Are we doing it on Tuesday though?
What?
Are we going to do that on Tuesday?
No, Tuesday is too late. 7 to 9, and then afterward we do it, it's too late.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'll do it right now. Everybody's here, all the seniors are here. Let's do it. Let's do it! So does that clear all things up for you?
Yeah, there's only one about the rest of the Buddhist teachings that I see gathering is that ending of the fluids, will it be transcendent, will it be exiting from
You know what? All of those stuff are
the
concepts.
breakup of the body, when you're not coming back here.
All of those are concepts. You need to experience that. Like I said, there's boxes, right? But life is not boxes.
Karma is all karma. The mind like fire unbound.
Oh yeah, I love all stuff, all that academic crap. I read it. I grew up with that stuff.
But does Zen really subscribe to that and say, yes, that is true?
No.
Zen doesn't do that? Is Zen adhering to the original Pali Canon scripture?
No.
It's not.
No, Zen experiences it. Zen doesn't conceptualize it.
But the Pali Canon does speak of these things.
Right,
It does speak of.
right. And when you experience it, like me, you see the terms I use is very different. I don't really put things in boxes.
You have not experienced the breakup of the body yet. You're still alive. You're still here.
Right? But I've experienced Naroha.
Yeah. What's that word?
Nirvana.
Nirvana. Okay. Naroha, Nibbana, Naroha. All this.
Yeah, right. Cessation.
Cessation, unbound, unbinding,
Whatever.
the deathless, the unborn.
You know what? You gotta taste it. It's like I bring you a fruit from Asia that you've never seen before. Unless you taste it, I can describe odd enough to you. Until you eat durian.
I think they're very specific though. When they speak of the breakup of the body, they mean the physical breakup of our bodies, and not in any kind of metaphorical sense or spiritual sense. They really mean the physical breakup of this body.
Here's my question. None of these guys died and come back.
Exactly. Except supposedly the Buddha.
You know what? The Buddha, I'm not sure the Buddha even talked about that. He didn't die and come back. I don't know. All I know is that if you haven't died and come back, I'm very skeptical.
Me too.
You're waiting until you die?
I'll come back. Tell me. Okay. Did you bring your rope?
No.
Oh gosh.
Well, I know I forgot.
Oh my God, you had it hanging up, you said too.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, and I was so worried about because I was running late. She said meet for 11, so
That's okay.
I honestly forgot.
Hmm.
Can I still take it?
Yes.
I don't have my rope.
That's okay.
I still have it.
Let you off this time.
What is that? Let me on this time?
She always got her robe, all the other ceremonies.
Yeah.
We'll let you off.
I still have it, I promise. No one else wants to wear it.
What?
No one else wants to wear it in my house, so.
Yeah,
Still got it.
Maybe your dogs.
Give them little Buddha robes, that'd be so cute.
You should do that.
I should. Well, I was just watching a video today of people dressing up their dogs in costumes.
That's considered abuse.
It does look a bit abusive.
Well, especially Halloween costumes
Yeah,
that
that's
they
what
don't
they do.
want to wear. You're trying to put one on a cat.
Oh, yeah, no. Right.
Yeah, very.
I slept too.
What's that?
I slept up too.
Oh, you stayed up till 2?
Yeah, well, I made the mistake of drinking coffee too late.
You should just go
You
Christmas.
said
Go
that
away.
yesterday to me, though, about another day.
Yeah, I know, but I was like, yeah,
You're getting old, teacher.
I am getting old. But I had okay sleep.